Hello, Adobe folks. Welcome back. It is the Adobe Live. If you are not following us, make sure you subscribe, like, follow all the Adobe Live platforms, Instagram, YouTube. We got it all. So make sure you are subscribed. I just want to start that off. But we are here at the Artist Spotlight with the incredible artist. I am so thrilled to so thrilled to get started with you and talk about your journey. The filmmaker, photographer, I mean, heavily accoladed. Okay, we're talking the Smithsonian Museum. What? National Geographic. We're talking B&H. We're talking a Nikon baddie. That's what I say because I like to call the people that use Nikon baddies. Kristi Odom, how are you?
I'm so good, and I'm so excited to be here. And not just to be here, but be here with another baddie. My goodness, your
Yes,
work,
I
Alexis, like
thank
your
you.
composite work. I can't wait to watch
Stop,
your streams. Your
stop
stuff
it,
is
stop it.
so
This
good.
Listen, when I heard that you use Nikon, I was like, I think I'm with family. I'm with family. I'm with family. I'm with my people. Because I rarely ever hear anyone talk about using Nikon anymore. So I am so excited to like dive into your work and just figure out how you like capture such emotion and everything with your like wildlife. I'm like, how does she does it? Like, does she does it scared? Like, how does she do this? This is amazing. So let's start off with just telling us a little bit about your background, how you got started, and like why wildlife.
Oh my goodness. My name is Kristi Odom. I'm a Nikon ambassador. I'm an associate fellow for the International League of Conservation Photographers. And my main mission and goal is to connect people emotionally with wildlife. I want to use photography in a um, photojournalistic way to tell stories of animals, to try to get people
Mm,
to connect, to try to get people to be more passionate and to care and ultimately love this amazing planet and hopefully create a couple of fighters along the way.
I
So
love
here's a
it.
little bit of my website just to give you an idea.
Here come the
But I
oohs and
love
ahs.
both photos and videos. I love picas.
Yes.
So a couple of my publications, I've had two stories published online for National Geographic, which made me really happy. And a lot of what I do is public speaking as well, because any way I can spread love for wildlife, I am all about. I also lead workshops, so I've got a couple coming up to help people learn photography skills in these remote areas of the world. In some of my news articles that have just happened, I'm pretty excited because I just won an award for that image. But this is my site. There's a little bit of my portfolio here, some of my animal photos.
Beautiful. That is beautiful. Oh my gosh. I just imagine like I'm like, are you ever like in a moment where you're like, I am scared, but I'm gonna do this?
All the time. But isn't it beautiful when nature's overwhelming, right? It's like
Yes.
there's something about that sublime that just makes us feel so small. And that's a powerful thing because
Yeah.
the world is huge, you
It
know?
really is. It really is. And you literally do from the smallest of the smallest, cutest critters to like the huge ones. And I'm like, oh my God, is she like up close to the lion or the cheetah? Oh my gosh. This is beautiful, but my nerves.
Well,
I can just imagine.
I love the little guys, the bees, the little creatures. I shouldn't say guys, the little creatures. And I love how
Yes,
much that they help protect our planet and the repollination. So we're going to
absolutely.
talk a lot about bees today.
I would
But
love
I
to.
also have played around a lot with filmmaking, and I've been doing
Okay.
campaigns to help protect jaguars, campaigns to help
Love
protect the
that.
ocean for NGOs. But I've also done a lot
Awesome.
of campaigns for Nikon. So I've done
Mm-hmm.
campaign for their Z8 and their Z9, and a lot of it is the
Beautiful.
slow motion and video because there's different ways to connect people, may it be photo or
Absolutely.
video, and it's awesome that the cameras can do both. And here's my Instagram if any of you are
Yes,
interested.
please make sure you follow Kristi. I mean, and the fact that wait a minute, so you're telling me that when we see like the Nikon, like the featured images or videos, that's you? Like some of those photos and videos, is that's you?
Some of them,
Oh,
there's an
I
amazing team that's always part
I'm
of
talking
that, and
to a
I
legend. I'm talking
you
to a
are
legend, an icon. What? That's amazing.
oh
That
my
is
goodness,
amazing.
you're too
Tell us,
kind to
won't
make
you tell us a little bit about your adventure? Like maybe like the most memorable adventure you've had, just with photography or filmmaking. I mean, I feel like there's some beautiful things that you've captured in just I can't imagine what those adventures like are like.
Most recently, I went for the sardine run in South Africa. I've always wanted to see the Great Migration of the ocean, and that's where the
Yes.
sardines come together in these bait balls. And let's see if I have a photo to show this
Ooh,
because
please.
it was crazy. But in the middle of the chaos of the ocean, is it part of this? Let's see.
Oh my
In the middle of the
gosh.
chaos, when all these fish decided to, these are mackerel, so they weren't sardines, but they hit up by my
Okay.
body, and this shark comes up and
Oh my
ends
God.
up smacking me. You can see the whole camera shake. But somebody got a picture of this
Wow.
shark like right in my face, and I definitely had to take a time out. I was going, think I was just
Okay.
hit by a shark. I need to go
Yeah, let me
back
tap out real
and
quick.
breathe. Let me take a breather and hang out by the boat. And
What is
so that
life
was
right now?
yeah, right. It was quite the
Wow.
adventure. So, and
So you
nature's
are like
unpredictable.
literally, you're literally inside of the water, literally with them and like capturing all of this. Like that is a I don't know about y'all, but that is amazing to me. I think yeah, that's amazing to me. So is it important for you to get up close and personal with the animals to kind of capture those emotions and like just the, emotion of even what they're doing and like, just kind of being in that and telling that story.
Well, first and foremost, it's important to not impact wildlife in any negative way.
Okay.
So, a lot of times I have to use some tools to help enhance those photos because I want to make
Okay.
sure that I don't negatively impact any animal. And those fish that kind of
Gotcha.
hit up by my body that brought the shark in, that was not planned. That's
Gotcha.
definitely not
I
planned.
imagine so.
So a lot of these photos are taken with long lenses. They're taken with respect of
Okay.
animals.
Okay.
Getting up and close and personal is as long as it doesn't impact or negatively change behavior or any change behavior at all. Like, but anything I can do to make sure I respect the animals first and not yeah, not do anything for the sake of a photo or video.
Absolutely. Robert says, if you respect animals, they respect you if they're not hungry.
I know, right?
I hope they're not.
Oh
No, we
my
want to make sure they
goodness.
are fed before we get in there. No, but and if you have any questions, guys, please make sure to drop it in the chat. I'll make sure to read it to Kristi. That way we can go ahead and, get all your questions answered. But yeah, I mean, I definitely want to talk more about your, what you advocate for and what made you want to go that direction and also like what made you choose, to kind of, do more of these, um eh, go in the direction of conservation and wildlife.
I feel like I've just seen a lot in the last, especially the last year, just a lot of
Mm-hmm.
changes, a lot of animals that are being impacted by changes in climate, and a lot of
Mm,
things that I just believe need stories that need to be told. These
yeah.
animals have no voices of their own that are helping protect them. So the more I can do to bring awareness to, just simple things that we can do, like
Yeah.
for instance, plant a native plant for me today. I would be very happy to help that
Mm,
insect population out. Like there's so many small
okay.
steps that if a huge collective does, it can really
Okay.
help battle this changing climate that we're facing.
Absolutely. I love that. And you mentioned that the bees being one of the projects that you were working on, right? Tell me a little bit more about that and your advocacy with that.
Well, the bee project is something I'm really excited to share because it's something I've been working on for almost 4 years, I would say.
Oh
But
wow.
the Amazon has actually reached a critical point, which unfortunately there's a lot of reports coming out of the Amazon emitting carbon and not offsetting it. And a lot of
Mm,
people have considered the Amazon the lungs of the world. Like
right.
the fact that it's speeding up climate change is, I mean, it's a disaster. And when I was down there, even just this last time, I mean, the whole sky was orange because of all the fires, because of, this specific fires were for burn for different farms and different
Mm,
production that people needed to make to kind of fit demand. And
mm,
so one of the things about protecting land and protecting place is protecting its pollinators. The native bees in South America are responsible for the pollination of 70% of native forest. They're little stingless bees, and I've been following a bee biologist around who's been going to all these indigenous villages and
Mm.
teaching the people how to harvest the honey from native bees. And not
Wow.
only is that helping save the Amazon, but it's giving them amazingly delicious honey that they can sell and make more money in these communities that are also struggling because a lot of the water now has mercury and it's causing people to get
Yeah.
sick. And so a lot
Yeah.
of people that used to live off land can't live off land anymore. And
Mm.
there's just a lot of world changes. So it's a project that I really believe in. But as my bee biologist friend Rupa says, it's really hard to connect people to bees. They're not like bears, they're not big and
Yeah.
powerful feeling. So the
Yeah.
power of photography, like in this picture, like you can really, I mean, this
Mm.
is a 4 to 5 millimeter tiny, tiny bee. So people
Yeah.
don't see the magnificence unless we can maybe use, well, my hope is to use photography to actually show how special these creatures are with the hopes of encouraging people to protect the bees.
Yeah. That is honestly, that's beautiful. And I love that. I mean, especially being that, you're using art, right? Because essentially that's what it is, right? It's like it's art that's literally creating change and to tell that story, right? I love that. Can we see a few photos? Is there a few photos in here? Is it
Oh,
like
let me
some back
see.
behind the scenes?
Oh my gosh, behind
Can
the
we get
oh,
some
and this
behind the
this
scenes a
reel?
little bit?
There's tons of behind the scenes.
Wow.
But, speaking of technology, this is a little through my camera, like, I'm really impressed that the cameras can pick
Wow.
up the bees in flight. So this was with the old firmware. It's now got, but these
Uh-huh.
bees were getting tracked and picked up. Um,
Wow.
if you are curious about this, there's a whole B&H is airing a special right now where they shot behind the scenes of me doing these bee photos. So I
Oh,
was
nice.
pretty
Okay.
excited. And there's the size. So that's the size we're dealing
Wow.
with.
And that's
It's
a
like
quarter? Is that a quarter?
it is a quarter, so they're the size of a couple of
Wow.
letters and a quarter, and so it's nice that technology is getting better and better, and it's easier to get these shots to hopefully connect people to and celebrate bees. I know, you're celebrating
Absolutely.
bees today, look at your
I am because
shirt!
I
Yeah,
have my B shirt on. I told her I wore this just for her. Like I got my whole I mean, and they're probably bigger than the actual bees that's in here. The bees are on this shirt. That's amazing though. I love that. And can you talk a little bit about how you actually capture a lot of like the storytelling or the emotion that you go behind, these
actually,
photos?
happy to, and on my website, I have this whole area of, um, conservation stories, and on here I've got
Mhm.
the bee story. So I've got a lot of the
Okay.
photos of the people in the villages, and there's Rupa
Mm.
teaching them about how to properly harvest the honey without harming the bees.
Love
And
that. Love
you
that.
know, it's
These
it
are
was it's
beautiful.
such a fun story, but I'm definitely going to follow this story for longer. And I'm
Yeah.
excited because something I'm going to talk about today is very relevant to this story. Here's some of the other pollinators, like the butterflies. There's Rupa.
Hi, Rupa.
And I did a moving
Oh,
portrait
I
of
love
him
that.
to
I
show
love
him
that
with
with
the
the
bees
bees going
around.
around. Wow, that's beautiful. I love that. Now that I love. Wow, and they're oh my god, they're on this beard. Oh my
There it is.
god.
And that's one of the great things about all of the
Wow.
Adobe products is like not only can I
Yes.
use Lightroom to edit my batches when I have a whole story, but I can use Photoshop to fine tune and to work with layers, and then I can
Yeah.
use Premiere to make these videos. So
Can
this
we get
site
a
has
little I was like, can we get a little peek of your process? Like, what does that look like in Photoshop?
oh
Can we
my
see that? Can we see?
gosh.
Can we go behind the
Well, let
curtain?
me show you. Yes, of course. I love this smile. Look at that smile
Oh,
discovering
this is
them.
beautiful.
All right. So, one of the things I wanted to show today in Photoshop, and one of the reasons I like Photoshop so much is its
Look at that
ability
one.
to, the back of my,
Yeah.
I love that Photoshop lets us work in layers. And when I'm
Yeah.
out in nature, I try to let those questions, like the questions that
Hmm.
kids would ask, or, I like my questions when I'm out in nature. I know that sounds silly, but I was out, for instance, in a lightning storm. This crazy lightning storm was in the distance. And
Mm.
I asked myself, with this lightning storm, I wonder how the lightning is striking around. Like, how is it striking? What is it hitting? What is its direction? Does it strike the same place? And so I ended up photographing a time lapse of this lightning, but I didn't photograph it for the sake of time lapse. I set my camera to interval timer shooting, and it just kept going off and photographing all these bits of lightning. And I actually have this video that I made in Premiere that I would love to show of the lightning striking. So can we cue that
Please,
up? So as you can
please.
see here, it's all this
Wow.
crazy amazing lightning. And it was just super active. But the reason that I did this was more because of that question. I wanted to see the patterns of the lightning striking. So I took those files, and that's why I shot on interval timer mode on my camera. So I had all these individual files. And I first took them into Lightroom and edited the first image, batched the whole series, and then I picked the images with the lightning strikes out
Okay.
and I exported those. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I have this series of lightning images. It was all taken on a tripod, so it's all in the same spot. But being able to use Photoshop and Photoshop's ability to use layers and blend modes, I'm
Yeah.
able to answer this question about where does the lightning strike and you know in relation to each other. So I'm going to show you
Okay.
how I do that because I love working with layers in Photoshop, if that's all right.
Okay. I love that.
So
Same.
we
I'm a
go
Photoshop
into
girly.
I love your Photoshop work. You gotta show everyone your site at the end of this if you
Listen,
can.
it's not about me, Kristi. This is
It's like,
about
oh my
you. We are
gosh,
listen,
but you're
but
so
but the
talented.
Photoshop, listen, the Photoshop will always come through. At the end of the day, I am like it when it comes to down to it, if you tell me which one, it's going to be Photoshop. That's where I'm going to choose where I'm going to go. So, I love the fact that you're using it in this way. That is literally layers are my best friend. Do you name your layers?
No, but I should. I
Okay,
should.
that was the true test. Because if you said yes, I'd be like, I'm gonna looking at you sideways. Because no one names their
Oh my
layers.
gosh,
I'm
I'm
just gonna
so
pray that.
disorganized. It's so funny because I did a little video on my Instagram before and I didn't even
Hmm.
untangle my Ethernet cable. It's like all over my room. I am so organized and
But you know
chaotic. But I think a
what?
lot of artists don't have like
Yes,
a little chaotic. Like I don't want
just a
anyone
little
to think
bit. Just a little bit. You got to have a little bit of chaos in order to be a good artist,
right.
I feel like, right? Like,
Oh my
and I think that's
goodness.
okay. And then it's little quirks about us, right? Like the little quirks that kind of make up for the
Exactly.
art. And you see it in our art sometimes.
And a lot of
You
artists are
might,
introverts and extroverts. It's like this weird
yes,
combination of being able to allow yourself to feel and be really internal, but also get your work out there. So I
absolutely.
love the like combining of yeah. All right.
Yeah.
But speaking of organized chaos, that's what I'm gonna do with this lightning shot. And how I do that is I go to File, Scripts, Load File into Stack, right?
Okay.
And then I'm gonna go to Browse, and
Okay.
I am going to browse from my computer. I did not put these on the cloud. Oh, that's my second demo. Don't look, don't look.
Okay. Oh, no.
All right, so I'm gonna select all of these lightning shots. You can just select all,
Okay.
however, I did Shift A on the first and the last, and I'm gonna hit
Okay.
OK. I'm not gonna
Okay.
select automatically align or create smart object. I'm just gonna hit OK, and I'm gonna bring
Okay.
those all in, and these are all the pre-selected shots with lightning. So it was the series from the
Um,
time lapse that we just saw, and you're gonna see on the
okay.
right-hand side as each layer loads. So it's gonna take
Okay.
just a minute because I am asking it to load like 40 or 50 layers,
That's fine.
but it's gonna be fast, I promise.
Well, while it's loading,
There
like,
it is.
oh, well, there we go. Never mind. We can keep going. We can go. We can keep going.
So
So
one of
tell
the
us.
cool things, now all of a sudden, I love that Photoshop, if you think about like a stack of photos, that's what these layers are. It's like a stack of a
Okay.
whole bunch of photos that are on top of each other. But
Hmm.
I can tell Photoshop how I want them to blend and how I want them to, you can make them opaque so they go through one layer and the other. But it's really cool because inside the camera, there's a lot of multiple exposure options, and there's two in particular that I love. I love shooting in
Hmm.
camera multiple exposures. There's lighten mode and darken mode. Lighten takes the lightest of pixels, and darkest takes the darkest of pixels when it overlays. Those same overlay modes are in Photoshop. So I can do these sort of multiple exposures, but take the lightest or the darkest of pixels. And in this case, lightning is the brightest of pixels.
Right.
So being able to put all these layers together, I can select the top layer. If you don't have this open, make sure in your windows you have your layer panel open. Select the top layer, scroll all the way down, hit shift, take the bottom layer. Now it's
Okay.
selecting all of these. Now over here is your blending mode. So I can click on this and click lighten, and that collects all the lightest of pixels, hence the
Okay.
lightning going off, right?
Okay.
So looking in, it's like, it's really cool because yeah, look at all that pattern. And
Look at
here's the
like
cool
that pattern is crazy.
and you can do things like hide different layers. So I can go
Okay.
through and you can kind of see the lightning and, almost how it strikes. And also, I will find out that
Wow.
sometimes I feel like there's certain bits of lightning that are just too bright. So I can find those
Ah,
layers and I think it's this one, kind of get rid of it and just be like, that one
okay.
kind of took away. I lost too much data there. But
Got
by
you.
clicking and toggling this eye, you're literally pulling these layers on and off. So
Wow.
you can go, yeah, just a few of the lightning bolts all
Mm-hmm.
the way up. I really don't like this lightning bolt.
Feel like we're looking at Zeus.
Right?
Like,
And you can
is Zeus in there?
gosh, but you can see that these lightning bolts they're making a circular pattern. Like there's a way that they
Yes.
relate to each other. So a
Yeah.
combination of camera technology and Adobe technology is helping me connect deeper to nature and understand it differently, which I
Mm,
think is super beautiful. Okay, so
it
there's a couple things
is.
that I like doing with this. Can I play with this photo?
Okay.
I want to
Please,
play.
please.
I'm going
What?
to take this middle one of the middle layers and I am
Okay.
going to right click on it and I'm going to duplicate this layer. Okay. I'll show
Okay.
you why I'm doing this. I'm actually going to call this, I'm going to name it just for you.
Okay. Okay. You
I'm
see,
going to
she
name
naming
it,
it, but just to be organized in front of us. That's it.
and then I'm going to drag this to the top. This is going to be my top
Okay.
layer. Okay. Now, this
Okay.
layer, I'm just going to turn off for now. And I'll show you why, because this is kind of cool. So I'm
Okay.
going to go down here and I'm going to select all the other layers by selecting the first one, shift selecting the last, and I am going to go image or layer flatten, merge layers. I don't want to flatten because I want to keep that
Okay.
top layer. So if I
Okay.
put this top layer, like a picture on the top, it's going to,
Okay.
right now, it's on this light and blend layer. I want to go
Okay.
back and I just want it to be normal. So that's your top layer. And one of the
Mm.
reasons I'm doing this is because I really like the clouds in one shot as opposed
Mm.
to the time lapse look.
Okay.
So
Okay.
on this top layer, I can go in and create a layer mask by hitting this layer mask button. And then I can go over here and select my paintbrush. Now what I'm doing with this layer mask is I'm literally painting a hole. So imagine that this is painting a
Mm.
hole in that picture. So here we go.
Mm.
There's the
I love the
lightning
layer
on.
mask. That's my
Yeah,
jam.
right?
That's my tool right there. I
Oh,
love this.
good.
Oh my gosh.
So now you've got a clearer clouds around the outside. I'm going to go back to regular size by hitting Control O, open app or Apple O if you're on a Mac. But
Mm-hmm.
now all of a sudden I have something that looks a little clearer in the sky. And I'm going to go through, now I'm going to layer flatten my image. I know I flatten a lot. A lot of people that work with layers, they save all along the way, but I'm just going to flatten. But now another thing that I do like playing with is because I think you all noticed from my photos, I love black and whites. And even though this has great
Yes.
photos, I'm curious to see like a really strong black and white if something can come over
Let's
this.
see it. Let's
And you can
see it.
go image
Let's see.
adjustment, black and white. And the cool thing about this black and white is you can do it by different color
Oh.
channels. So what goes darker and what goes lighter. I find this to be
Mm.
super reminding of the darkroom days, which it's really interesting.
Mm.
Talking about the darkroom days, like you used to put different filters. So the black and
Yeah.
whites, like a red filter so that you'd see like
Mm-hmm.
more in the sky or less in the sky. So you put different filters
Yeah.
on. It's really funny because like I try to do things that I used to be able to do in the darkroom and people are all scared of, oh, don't use AI. And I'm like, I was using AI with different
Listen,
filters to
okay?
darken and lighten
With my
things in a dark room.
hands.
Yeah.
With my
And
hands.
now, because it would
Okay?
take the sky and let me lighten the sky by using a certain filter. And
Yeah.
now it's like, so people
So
ask
you
me all the time. I use a
I was
little
gonna say,
bit of
so you
AI.
have a
I don't
I was gonna
mind.
say I was gonna say too, how do you feel about AI generated images and things like that nature and going down that route. How do you feel about that and incorporating into your work?
That's a great question. I feel like transparency is number one.
Okay.
So if you're going to use AI, be transparent about it. I use AI for my dodging and burning. I
Okay.
sometimes like bringing the sky down to kind of match the image. I do things that I used to be able to do in the darkroom, but AI makes it easy. So I have
Absolutely.
no problems, but I want to honor the image and honor the
Yeah.
nature I'm photographing. So I try to make it a true representation of the scene or the animal. So
Gotcha.
yeah,
Just keeping that integrity as well in your work when it comes to the actual scene that you're capturing, correct? It's kind of like what you want to do.
exactly.
Okay,
And these are some of the
gotcha.
filters I used to use in the darkroom, especially the high contrast red filter. That was,
Okay.
oh my God, check that
Oh
out, right?
wow. Now that is
So
dope.
it may have taken the reds and blown them out
Wow.
just a little bit. So I might pull those reds
Okay.
down. I might pull the yellows down. The blue was in the
Okay.
sky. So if I pull the blues up, it'll give me a little more of that texture in the sky. But check that out, right? Check
Wow.
out that storm. Isn't nature magnificent? I'm going to
Wow.
zoom in because I want to see the lightning bolts
Please.
bigger. Look at
Please.
that. The
Wow.
pattern, right?
I just
It's
can't get over
kind
it. This is a beautiful image.
of fun.
My gosh.
So
Wow.
that's
And even
something I
how the clouds are kind of like wrapped around it and like, oh my gosh, yeah. This is really dope. I really
but
love
this is
this.
definitely a composite. It's not a straight
Yeah.
image. And I've even turned layers of lightning off. So there's been some
Yeah.
manipulation there, but I
But still keeping its
I
integrity, right? Like it's still, I mean, I feel like it still kind of keeps that the essential what you getting, right? Of what you actually captured and what the actual story is behind it, right? We're capturing the how the lightning has this pattern and how it strikes and it still gives that and also just emphasizing, right? I feel like it just emphasizes a little bit, right? Like let's just give us a
exactly.
little, a little I say a little shoosh shadoosh. That's what I say. Had a little sprinkle, you know what I'm saying? That's all it is. Just a little
I
sprinkle.
actually like this, so I'm gonna save it.
I
I
love
am
that.
gonna
Yeah.
save it on my computer
You'll
because
see it on
yeah,
an Instagram near you.
maybe,
Maybe?
maybe
Oh, are you like one of those that like
lightning.
I like to keep things for myself? I don't like to share everything. Are you like one of
Oh
those
my
people?
goodness. No, I share a lot, but I'm very
Okay.
particular. I actually really like this. I would probably have to make sure I didn't drop those blacks too much and play with the tonality because I'm
Yeah.
very particular. But
Okay.
for a quick demo that, I could do this in 3, 4 minutes. Like I'm pretty
Right.
excited. And
That's
yeah,
awesome.
so
Yeah.
it's really cool. But it's funny because like when you pick up these techniques, like I love picking up these techniques and then putting them in my back pocket and thinking like,
Mm.
where can these techniques actually help me learn more? Like where can they
Yeah.
help me learn about wildlife? And when I was down with Rupa in Bolivia,
Mm.
the Z's now, the Z8, Z9, the Nikon cameras, they shoot at 120 photos per second. And I'm going, I'm
Mm.
not sure when I'm going to use that. But then I started getting curious. I started getting curious about how these bees fly into their hive. So there's a period of time when
Mm.
the bees have a small hive and then they get too big and then they get moved to a bigger home. And when that
Okay.
happens, they kind of crowd the very front going into their new home, getting all excited. And I
Okay.
put a macro lens on my Z9 and I put my camera
Okay.
at 120 photos per second. And I just took a ton of photos to kind of,
It's just
yeah,
going.
I wanted to see the flight pattern of the bees going in
Yeah.
the hive. And
Wow.
so we actually have, so with those photos, you can slow it down and make a
Okay.
6K video. So you can do a slow motion 6K video, but then you also have all these files. So we
Right.
actually have that video to share with you. And it was really
Please.
interesting too, because when we slowed down that video, all of a sudden there was behavior that hadn't been seen before that was in that slow motion. So by using the
Really?
macro lens on these tiny bees and by using the slow motion video shooting 120 photos per second, it taught the bee biologist something about these bees. So can we play
Really?
that video?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can we please play that? Wow.
So if you look
Wow. So you're telling
closely,
me all of these are photos that
they're
you took.
photos. But
Wow.
looking super close, we noticed the bees were fighting. And that is something you can't see with your own eyes. They were being aggressive and they were fighting in the air. And
Oh.
Rupa, the bee biologist, his jaw just dropped. And he was like, I didn't realize that they had that aggression when they moved into their new hive. And so
Mm.
what happened is when Rupa saw this, he changed the time of when he moved the hives to the evening. So the bees are less aggressive than during the day. But the fun thing
Wow.
is, I now have all these photos and I'm thinking like, how can I use layering to show the flight pattern of bees, right?
Right.
Because I'm curious
Right.
if they spiral, I'm curious how they fly into the hive.
Right.
So I took those photos. I did first put them in Lightroom. I
Mm-hmm.
edited the first photo. Like, here we
Mm-hmm.
go. Like, here are my bees. So I
Mm-hmm.
went into Lightroom. I
Okay.
did a little bit of an edit. And one of the things that I edited for is I'm just gonna change that. That line is not straight. You can see this
And if
one
you're just
falling.
joining, if you're just joining us, Kristi is sharing how she got these bees and literally told the story for what and what do you call? I'm sorry, Rupa. What's his official title?
Oh, Rupa's a bee biologist,
A bee biologist. He and
native bee
literally show
specialist.
literally native is it native bee specialist?
Yes.
Also, is that another way to say it? I didn't want to get it wrong. And we are literally breaking down her process of how she shot these bees. So if please tune in, make sure you are tuned in because I'm literally like, wow, this is amazing. Please continue, Kristi.
Well, do we have any questions, Alexis, or anything from the chat that people are
Only people
saying? Or
talking about when they got struck by lightning. I yes, they are talking
no,
about some stories
seriously?
there, but they are saying, wow, the image was so intense as far as the lightning, so it was really good.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
yes, so it a lot of we're into the bees. We got some bees emoji in the chat. It's a bee's knees.
I
We got
love it.
some. Yeah, we
Oh my goodness. I
got
love
some of that too.
puns. So if anyone wants to put anything punny in the
Please
chat, it
put it
makes
all the
my
puns.
day.
Put all the puns. And if you like we said, if there's any questions, please let us know if you have any questions about the work. But please, Kristi, continue. Let us know what we got going on and what we're going into.
So, knowing that Photoshop has the ability to stack, but it's looking for the lightest and the darkest of pixels, I'm going to take this image and just increase the light, increase the dark so that I can help with this stack I want to do. First off, the color doesn't do anything for me here. The color is really bad, so I am just going to pull that saturation out. There's
Okay.
tons of ways to make an image black and white in Lightroom, but I just pull the saturation because I want to do
Okay.
everything else myself. I love playing with my curve. I love grabbing different areas of the curve, like especially at the bottom and the top to kind of really increase that contrast. Do you see how much this is making it really contrasty? So
Absolutely.
just grabbing the shadows and grabbing the highlights. I'm going to add the contrast here, add the blacks here, and just make it a really contrasty black and white to really help out um, Photoshop. Okay, so I'm going to take the first image. I'm going to go all the way to the end of this B sequence, hit Shift, click the last one, and I'm going to sync them all. And that'll give that edit. And when I hit sync, it's going to ask me what I want to sync. I want to
Mm-hmm.
check all. I want everything checked. I want
Everything.
the crop. I want everything checked. And
Yes.
then I hit synchronize, which I've already done. So I'm not going to go through that here. But I've already synchronized everything. And then in Photoshop, now we get to play, right? We get
Mm-hmm.
to play with the bees. Don't play with
Oh,
like
yeah.
stinging. Don't play with bees. Don't hurt
Don't
bees.
play
But
with actual bees,
we're
but yeah.
we're gonna play with the
This.
bees here. We're gonna use that same file scripts, load file into Stack, right? But this
Mm-hmm.
time I'm gonna do browse and I am going to, I keep on having to move this. Uh, Adobe Live, the date.
Mm-hmm.
B demo. Here we go. I only pulled a few of these in here just for optimization of being able to stream. But I'm going to pull all those in. I'm going to hit OK. I'm not going to automatically align because we've got such a big moving subject. I don't
Mm-hmm.
need a smart layer. I just want the layers to come in. So I'm going to hit OK. And it's going to load all of those layers. So this will take just a few seconds.
Okay. And we do our little bee dance.
We do our bee
We
dance.
do our little bee dance. Yeah.
Any more bee puns in the chat for
Did
us?
we have anything? Let me see. I think someone was asking, hold on, because I think I missed someone's question in when we were a little bit ahead. Hold on one second. Uh about Nikon, since they're, I guess, Red Cinema, something about they have bought Red Cinema. What are your hopes for the future of high quality video and photography in the field,
Oh my gosh, I'm
especially
so
when it's
excited.
involving
I
wildlife photography?
Collaboration of Red technology and Nikon technology. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can't wait.
Yeah, you're like, yeah,
I
I'm
am
excited for
all
it.
for it. But I
Okay.
know nothing, but I'm all for it.
Okay.
And I
But she's not
remember when
giving
I
any
saw,
secrets, guys.
well, no any secrets. I'm just a working photographer. So
Yes.
yeah, but I am super excited. And it was nice because I was hanging out with a lot of Nikon people when the announcement was made, and there was a lot of
Yeah.
smiles and excitement amongst the, yeah, it's definitely, as a filmmaker, yeah, I'm all for it.
So you're like, yeah, it's gonna be great.
It's
I
gonna
hope that
be
answers
great.
your question, Keys. Keys is a devoted fan, so as far as for you. So we hope that I hope that answered your question, Keys. Yeah. So let's kind of continue what we got going
Okay,
on here. Got our layers.
so you've got your layers, and once again, if that's not showing, make sure you go to Windows and make sure your
Okay.
layers are showing.
All
So I
right.
click on the very first layer, and I'm going to go all the way down and hit shift, and then I'm going to go back into this blend mode again. But
Mm,
if I did the same as the lightning, there's so much light that it's blocking everything out. It's the
gotcha.
darken mode because it's keeping the darkest of pixels, keeping
Wow,
that
look at that.
movement
And
of the
all the
bees.
movement. Wow.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of other ways that you can kind of combine images here. Um, Penlight sometimes has some really fun stuff, but like, yeah, just different blend. Some of them are really cool. Some of them work on some images and not on others,
All
but
of
I
them. Yeah.
particularly like the darken mode. And
Hmm.
here is where it gets fun because I can turn off different areas and kind of get the type of bees in flight that I want. So I
Mm.
can just kind of like, oh, let me see. I'm gonna
To
go up to
see
the
the
top.
like movement is even pretty cool though. Just to see this
Yeah,
movement here is
because you can
amazing.
kind of like start up at the top and then like just kind of like add the bees you want to do to like,
Hmm.
this one's really cool because this is where they fight. Do you see like that's where it starts to fall. So this is where the kind of
Wow. They're getting a little
altercation,
aggressive.
and
Hmm.
then yeah, and then there's this fall all the way down, right?
Mm.
So you can choose
Wow.
what layers you want it to show. And I mean, like, this is just so much fun to kind of play with. Like, I really
Absolutely.
particularly love, which is the one that I love. I think it was over here, right about here. So like this one where it's, oh, that's not the one that I love. I like separation from the background.
Mm.
Um, let's see. But yeah, just that one's pretty good. But I can take it and then I can go in here and then like play with a little bit of space between so you can kind of get that idea of like sometimes if you hide layers and add layers, you can get the movement in and then the be separated. So you
Hmm.
can really have fun like turning these layers on and off to kind of play with these different how you want the bees in the air. But I usually like keeping it as this is the path, you know? So
Yeah.
I've kind of kept it as simple as possible, but it's the art implications of being able to do like really fun things with like,
Hmm.
just it's just really cool to see like these ones are spiraling, this one's getting hurt and falling,
Yeah.
these ones are going in. So all of a sudden I'm using these two technologies, the camera and the post-processing technology, to like understand the flight pattern of bees. And
Wow.
that's something I've had a lot of
That's
fun with. And then if
amazing.
it's fun, right?
Yeah, that's
Get to
amazing.
play with
To even to see the actual story being told of like, okay, wait a minute, I see something a little off. Like for him to even recognize that there was something going on in that is amazing. Even for, I mean, yeah, yeah. And are you using? Someone asked about using macro tubes.
Yeah, I'm not using extension tubes. So for these,
Okay,
I was using the Nikkor Z105 macro. So I was using
okay,
just that lens. And you can
okay.
already tell that like I'm manually focusing in you can tell that the depth of field is
Mm-hmm.
pretty shallow. Macro
Yeah,
depth of field is like tiny because with added
yeah.
magnification comes decreased depth of field. So there's a lot of, and if I was using extension tube, that would be even smaller. So
Even
these were
smaller. Yes.
just with my 105.
Okay.
macro,
I
but
hope that answered your question.
no
Make sure we
extension
there.
tubes were used.
No extension tubes here.
No extension tubes. But I want to show you some of the final products of this, if
Okay.
that's all right. I just put them in a
Yes,
Lightroom
please.
catalog to make it easy. Um, photos. All right, so here's a lightning shot just to go back. Here's one
Mm-hmm.
of the lightning shots that um, let's see. So you can see like this sort of this lightning bolts, they were all kind of hitting the same spot. And I used one layer that had
Wow.
stars. So one of the layers at the
Wow.
end had stars. So I was able to
Yeah.
kind of like
I
make a
love it.
shot that had the
Mm.
lightning and then the sky with doing that, duplicating that one layer and then erasing
Yeah.
through. But here are some of my bee photos. It's really nice because I like seeing the
Wow.
legs
I
swing.
love that.
You know, it's
That is amazing.
seeing it
Wow.
just like it feels. Some people when they I posted these images a little while ago, they said that it looks like lace, like the way
It
that
does. It does.
the
I love that. Wow. And then the twirls around too.
Mhm.
Wow. That is amazing. Wow.
Super fun to do. And I've
This
seen
is
photographers do
amazing.
this with birds in flight, and it's just amazing to
Yeah,
see the patterns of birds across the sky and
it is.
being able to use this and kind of have in your back pocket if you're ever trying to capture the movement and the pattern of
Mhm.
wildlife.
Yeah, absolutely. With all of this, I mean, I know you do this like this is like your day in, day out, right? How do you stay motivated or how do you stay inspired or find these new ways of capturing within or even pushing boundaries, right? Like how do you stay? Like how does that work for you?
It's really interesting because I will say, can I tell a story here? Is that okay?
Please. Please. Please.
Last
Please.
year, I will admit, like, I mean, as artists and creatives, we have to have passion. We have to
Mhm.
feel. And that's the biggest thing about photography is you have to allow yourself to feel when you take pictures so that you can have more powerful emotional shots. And
Right.
last year, I overworked myself and I lost some of
Mm.
my passion and I felt it. And I felt it in my work. I felt it wasn't as strong. And that's when
Mm.
I decided to do that sardine run trip because
Wow.
I wanted to feel the passion. The first
Yeah.
time when I got into photography was because I fell in love with the ocean and I wanted to be able to keep some of the
Mm.
ocean's beauty. So I went out to
Mm.
the sardine run and it was really funny because like yes, I was overwhelmed by the ocean, but what changed me wasn't the ocean, it was another photographer. And
Mm.
before we went on a dive, like she closed her eyes and she put her hand on her heart and then opened them right before we went in the ocean. And I asked her over dinner that night, I said, "What were you doing?" And she said, "Oh my gosh, I didn't think anyone was looking." And she said, "I give myself a moment of gratitude before and after I enter the ocean." And
Mm.
I just burst into tears. I still get emotional thinking
Yeah.
about it because
I'm about to get emotional now. You
all
said, "Oh my
along the
gosh."
way I had
Yeah.
lost some of my gratitude and emotion, that feeling of the sublime when you're under the redwoods, that feeling of being overwhelmed by even bees. That
Yeah.
photographer, she's amazing. Her name is Zandy. She runs the Black
Shout
Mermaid
out to Zandy.
Foundation. I highly recommend you all follow her because she's a total inspiration and
Mhm.
I think that I needed to hear that at that time because
Yeah.
at the core of all of us as artists, it's that drive and what made us want to get there and what made us want to create and
Yeah.
doing the things that you can do to re-tap into that passion. It's good for the soul and it's good for us as artists. And don't forget gratitude. That's my
Yes.
key to everything.
Yes. I love that. No, that's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that with
Well,
us.
thank you for
No, so
asking.
it's all I definitely love the idea of going back to where you started, finding out going back to what made you fall in love in the first place. And I bet you that bump from the shark was like, yeah, girl, get it together. You better get it together.
Exactly. It's like, who are you to get
Yeah.
burned out when you're out in nature taking photos of such amazing things? I feel so silly that
Yeah.
I had burnout, but I think
But it
it
happens, right? As artists, it
it
happens, We can't help it. We got to listen to our bodies, right? So we
yeah,
got to
what
just
keeps
do it.
you passionate? I
For
want to know from
me,
you. Yes.
you know what? I think it's the same thing you said about being inspired by others instead of looking at others people for comparison or like, and I think that's where I get a little bit down about my own art, right? Is, oh, it doesn't look like this person's or whatever. Or what I do is I try to find they actually how they actually do their process of art. So even doing things like this, like literally seeing your process, being a part of it, hearing stories, like those type of things inspire me to get back into what I do, right? To keep me inspired. Like there's more stuff out there that I have not even touched. Like, or there's more things that I have not explored. And I think that is what adds to your art every time you explore. And I'm actually amazed of just the story that you told. I'm like, wow, like she just like that was in the ocean with all of these, animals. It was like, okay, I'm good now. Like, let's go back into it. Who am I? What am I talking about? I love this thing. So I definitely, I think same thing is going back to what you love and like going back to the first thing that got you into it, right? And then exploring it in a new way, in a new perspective, right? Like you're not the same artist you were, right? When you started, all those years ago, right? Like you're a completely new artist. You have a different lens, sort of say the puns, on life now, right? So you're not gonna look at it the same. So that's kind of where I am. But is that do you can see yourself continuing to do that, like finding new ways to explore, animals and just a new way to explore things? Do you find your way, kind of try to find your way to do that?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I try to do everything I can to get out in nature. A lot of my current
Mm-hmm.
projects are really focused on trying to protect Colorado wildlife. Like I live in
Mm.
Colorado and there's species disappearing. Like I do a lot of work
Mm.
with pikas. I'm excited. I'm working on a pika film
Okay.
this year, so excited about that. And
Okay. Okay.
also there's a big disappearance of these toads, so I'm working to protect these toads.
Wow.
And there's so many stories everywhere. I think when I started my journey as a nature photographer, it was hard for me to find stories to like actually stick with. Like I just
Mm.
wanted to photograph a bear or a shark or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and now it's like I see stories everywhere. Once I've started, like you
Mm.
said, talking to people and talking
Yeah.
to people that are passionate about conservation, passionate about
Yes.
local spaces. And that's
Yes.
what's opened up this career where I can use my photography to actually help make change and make a difference. And I'm curious
Yeah.
to all you out there in the chat, like, what do you all do to keep passion alive and to keep yourself
Yes.
as a
How do
creative,
you?
keep those creative juices coming? Because it's like,
Yes.
I mean, gosh, the world needs its creative. It needs its
Yeah.
artist. And the
Yeah.
more that we can, I mean, passion is contagious. The more we can shout
Yeah.
out about the beauty we see, like the beauty that
Yeah.
you see in people through your amazing composite portraits, like
Oh, stop.
it's, all
Christy
the
has been
color
just
and
she
you
has
gotta
just
show
been
them.
bigging me up. She has been just bigging me. I'm like, Christy, please.
You got, can you show,
I
oh, I
love it
guess
though.
I
I
could show your Instagram. Can I show
She
it?
is. Oh no, this is not about me,
No, oh,
Christy. Oh
geez.
my
Oh,
gosh.
yeah.
But no,
Okay.
honestly, looking a little bit about, even looking at your work, that's completely different from what I do. Still does like inspire me, right? Like going outside of what you're typically used to, or however. Do you usually in your, I guess in your, because you do a lot of motivational speaking as well. Listen, she's motivating me too. Just want to let y'all know that. But you do a lot of motivational speaking. So tell me a little bit about your journey and like how you got into that, and also teaching, and just because it looks like you have just this spirit about you that just like it feels so warm. So I'm just wondering, how did you get into it? How did, like, how do you feel about talking about it now, and that sort of thing?
Oh my goodness. Well, my public speaking journey has been absolutely crazy, to be honest, because
Yeah.
I never saw myself a public speaker. Growing up, my biggest fear was talking in front of the classroom or being
I couldn't
called on in
tell.
class. I was so nervous. It was my biggest fear. Well, I grew up, this is really random. I actually grew up with a bit of a heavy speech impediment, and so the kids would make
Okay.
fun of me.
Okay.
So I didn't want to talk in
Mm-hmm.
front of people. I hid under the
Mm.
stairs at recess, and I ended
Mm-hmm.
up like spending all my time looking for four-leaf clovers, and I'd come
Mm.
home with these bags of clovers, and it was really funny because like one day I came home with like 70 of them. I got really good at looking for clovers, which has
Really?
been actually funny because it's become very useful for finding wildlife. Like I developed a
Uh-huh.
skill, and it's very useful for looking through the camera and being able to scan all the distractions and use it for composition. So ended up
Mm,
building one of my strengths. But when I got asked to public speak, I'm going, I don't speak in front of people. I did years of speech therapy, and I got rid of my speech
yeah.
impediment. Talk about a
Yeah.
horrible word, the word impediment. Try saying that when you have a speech
And
impediment.
pet right. That is
It's a
that
hard.
word there is gonna trip me up. Okay.
So when I got asked to public speak, I knew that it was such an honor to be able to hopefully
Hmm.
inspire other people and other artists to use their art to create change and create passion and create love.
Yeah.
I've always been super inspired by Jane Goodall, who she never
Okay.
imagined herself being a public speaker. Like she wanted to be out in the wild and be doing her work with the monkeys. And, like, so when
Hmm.
she started getting asked to public speak, she realized how much good she could do through it. So when I
Yeah.
got asked to start public speaking, I ended up taking years of Toastmasters and getting a public speaking coach and taking classes. And I
Mm,
worked really, really hard to make sure
mm,
I honored anybody that gave me their time in the audience. So the
yeah.
public speaking journey, I never expected, but at the same time, like it is such a gift to be able to hopefully inspire other creatives to use their art to better this planet and to shout out about what they're passionate about. So it's been
That's
a crazy
beautiful.
journey.
No, that's
Eager.
beautiful.
And I
And
still get super nervous.
listen, I say that nerves are good because that means you want to do a good job. That's what I feel
Exactly.
like, right? Like I feel like the nerves are good. You're supposed to have a little bit of nerves, right? Like but it's good, right? It's like it's also makes you human. Like I feel like that's the human part of it. It's like I gotta feel something. But no, we're
Oh my
getting
goodness.
what an inspiring journey. You were saying that nature is the greatest keys. Nature is the greatest inspiration. Might not have a camera with me or a sketchbook and pencil. Seeing it is the greatest thing. So yes, yeah, and you have an inspiring journey. It's amazing. Tell us what's in the future. What's how
Oh
are
my
we
goodness.
evolving into anything else? What are we working on? Like, tell us all the deets.
I'm doing a lot of taking people out into wildlife with workshops, which has been
Okay.
amazing. Getting
Ooh.
other people passionate about wildlife and teaching them how to photograph and do videos.
Okay.
So we've
Okay.
got a lot of exciting open workshops. If you ever want to go on an adventure, I'm happy to
Okay.
I would
I
love for you
love
to be part of it.
that.
So I've got a lot of that coming up. A lot of that stuff even in Rocky Mountain National Park and different places.
Mm,
But for professionally, I'm working more with the toads. I'm working on my pica film. Those are some of the big projects this year. And
mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm trying to think if
Yeah.
there's anything. I'm going back on the sardine run.
Okay. Listen,
So
she said I'm gonna stay inspired. Okay. Even
I
if that shark, I am not afraid of no shark. No shark can be afraid. They better be afraid of me. Okay.
oh my goodness.
No, I'm
So
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, don't
but
don't do that.
in 1 month's time I'm gonna head over to India to see tigers for the first time in the wild. So
Oh
I leave a month from tomorrow.
wow.
So that's my next big trip to
That's
I've never
awesome.
seen
She's
a
like,
tiger in the wild. I'm so excited. Hopefully I get
oh,
to see
that's
them.
awesome. No, so okay, is there any like I guess goal that you have going in, or are you just more so like I just go in and I'm just being a part of their environment, that's it. Like I don't have anything, or you're like, okay, this is what I want specifically want. Are you one of those?
That's such a good question. I want to go in and have an open mind and let myself be inspired. Let myself be
Okay.
inspired by nature. So I mean, a lot of times stories will come and then like, all my repetitive trips down to Bolivia about the bees, like a lot of times like the first time I go somewhere, it's like I'm keeping my ears open and my eyes open and I'm just looking to see what I
Mm,
learn. Um,
okay.
it's like my first time to Bolivia and then every time cuz I went down to Bolivia to photograph bears. And when I went
Wow.
down for bears, everyone's talking about bees. And I'm like, but what about bears?
What about bears?
And the bee ended up becoming this long-term project of mine. So it's
Okay.
I don't know what India's gonna bring,
Okay, you're
but
just like I'm going with it.
I'm excited. I'm
And
really
that is
excited. So
amazing. Tigers,
it'll
oh
be
my God.
fun.
And they're beautiful, the stripes and everything. Oh, listen, I
I
can't wait to
love
see those photos. I can't wait to see what that looks like. But I guess since we're kind of winding down, is there anything that you would give like a new photographer or someone who is looking to go into conservation, wildlife photography? Any kind of guidance that you can give for, things that
that
they
is
should take on them in their journey?
a Great question. I think the biggest thing about this industry is that being a fighter for wildlife means that you keep at it. You keep at it for long periods of time and you do stories that you
Mm,
believe in. It's
mm,
not, you get, there's a lot of failure in nature photography. There's a lot of failure in learning how to take the right pictures. There's a lot of failure in reaching out to publications.
mm,
So you have to be ready for that failure and you have to keep fighting and look for what's on the other side of that failure. I get turned down, I would say almost every week because I'm putting
mm,
these stories out there all the time. So that's the biggest thing. I think one of the reasons that I've become successful is because I've embraced failure. The other
mm,
thing that I push people is to consider what you're trying to do. Like, consider using your photography for change. And for change doesn't necessarily mean getting published. Rupa being able to use my images in the Amazon to teach people about bees and how to protect them is creating a bigger change and protection of the Amazon than publications are. So sometimes photographing
mm.
for those scientists and biologists, like that's going to create the most impactful environmental change. So keep an eye out for what you can do and how you can create change without necessarily having publication be the end goal.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kristi, for sharing your journey. Thank you for sharing your work, your process, everything. I mean, please make sure you follow Kristi. And where can we follow you, Kristi? Is it
Instagram at
Kristi?
Kristi
Mhm.
Odom is, or you can sign up for the newsletter on my website. But
Yes.
Instagram and share your photos or your art with me. I'd love seeing it. You've just seen a whole bunch of mine.
Yes.
I'd love to see yours. I'm friendly, I
Please make
promise.
sure yes, please make sure you subscribe, like, and follow. Go over to Kristi and be inspired. Stay inspired. Y'all stick around. There's more to come. But thank you so much for joining us. Make sure y'all follow Adobe Live. Follow Kristi, okay? And I hope that y'all have a blessed day. Thank you.